Today is actually the last day of my first year at Minerva University. I thought it would be fun if I recorded a video showing how my accent changes over the next few weeks, and my accent has changed like 100%. You can barely even hear any trace of the British accent except for when I say things like vitamins. I'm like 99% sure that within like a few weeks of coming back to the UK, my British accent will be back. And all of my friends who I've spoken to so far have told me that that's not gonna happen. Hopefully, I will not be stuck with this accent forever. I'm in Los Angeles right now, and I'm just spending like the next few days here, and then I'm gonna be going back to the UK. I haven't had that kind of I really haven't missed the country at all. I also don't love America. The food makes you gain a lot of weight and the healthcare system is insane, but at the same time it's very interesting and I really like being here. There's just so many different things to see. I think that's what's so appealing about it. There's just a lot, and I can kind of understand why Americans don't really travel a lot, because they have so much here. Like, there are so many different cultures here who have been here for so many generations, such a long time, and there's such a diverse range in the places you can go to. Like, you can find the big cities, you can find like mountains, you can find the ocean, and in a place in like other countries, for example in the UK, I had not really ever seen mountains before, and like there's just so many. It's so huge that you can find enough here, and I get why they haven't really traveled as much, and obviously it's expensive too, but yeah, it was just a really interesting experience, and it's really weird to be talking about it in past tense. Okay, so I'm currently editing this video, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I was staying with my friends, like my friends' family members in the outskirts of Los Angeles. And then while I was there were these two younger kids. I think they were like 8, and then the girl was 13. And obviously, as kids do, they wanted us to play Roblox with them. So we're like, okay, sure, let's play Roblox. And then we like became friends, and we were like playing these games together. And then one day my friend said something in Korean, because like they're all Korean. And I was like, oh, that sounds exactly the same as like the Japanese word. I can't remember what the word is for the life of me. But I was like, oh, that sounds exactly like the Japanese word. And then the 13-year-old girl goes like, how do you know Japanese? And I was like, oh, like I didn't mention, like I get this question a lot because I look quite like European. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually half Japanese, and then my other half is British. And she goes, you're British? And I was like, you didn't know? Like, where did you think I was from? And she was like, I just thought you were from like here, as in the US. And that was when I realized that, like, oh my gosh, like my accent has, like, it's not even detectable anymore. That is so strange to me. But I just wanted to add that in the video because I thought it was really funny that like this girl who had been like born and raised in California couldn't tell that like I was even from anywhere else until I like explicitly mentioned it. So if I were to like go back to the States and then stay there for like a few years, not even a few years even, then like no one would even be able to tell. It's like just such a strange thing for me to think about. I am currently in my garden in the UK. So I'm eating lunch. So many vegetables. It's so good being able to eat like cheap vegetables in the UK again. I wanted to film this as kind of like the last part of like how my accent is changing. So I've been back in the northwest of the UK for about 2 months now. And in that time, I also went to Wales for a week and I just came back from Oxford as well. So I feel like it's pretty well adjusted already. When I meet my friends, they always say that I still have the American accent, but I think that I feel like it still like kind of comes and goes. From next week onwards, I'm going to be in Japan for the next 2 months. So like this is kind of the final resting point, I'm guessing, because I'm not going to be speaking as much English anymore or like around English people as much. Um, but it's been really interesting to see how like the whole accent changes over time. I actually studied this in my English language A level, and we talked like a lot about how there's like different accent prestiges and all of the connotations associated with them. And you kind of think that, you know, it's just like fun and games, you know, like American accents sound kind of stupid and like the RP like Southern English accent is more prestigious. And we think that they're just kind of like funny stereotypes, but the stuff that I studied was kind of saying that like if you have an undesirable accent, then you're more likely to be perceived as guilty for the same crime, or like I don't know, just like these kinds of things were really interesting to me. And to be treated kind of more foreign, if that makes sense, was like a really strange experience. So when I was on the coach to Oxford, my coach driver was like complaining about how difficult it is to drive around the city, and he blamed it on Americans. And I was like, oh, okay. And I knew that at this point, like if like just a normal British person heard my accent, they would think that I was American. So I was like, okay, I need to not speak to this guy, or if I do, then I need to like really try and tone it down. So that was really interesting. But then from now on, I'm going to be studying in East Asia for the next year. And obviously, like my classmates mostly have American accents, so we're going to see what happens to it. I think it'll be really interesting. Clearly, my accent is like much more malleable than I thought it was, especially since I've lived in the UK for like pretty much my whole life, 19 years, and it didn't really hold up that much. But there was one thing also, again, related to my A level, where we studied about how accents might be a sign that you're trying to be a part of a group. So like you would use certain vocabulary to try and fit in with a certain group in society, or like just the way that you speak. So if you're from like a very tight-knit community and you felt like very emotionally close to them and you do a lot in the community, and then one day you move out, like for example you have to get a job in like a bigger city far away, you would still continue to use that accent because you sort of like identify with that group. So one of the things I was thinking was that maybe my accent changed a lot because I really enjoyed my year at Minerva, and because of that I kind of like subconsciously identified with them as a group, so my accent was more likely to converge with them. These are just like theories, and they might just be like part of the reason or not even at all. But yeah, so I'm gonna go and eat my lunch before it gets cold. So I will see you guys soon. Bye.